Thanks for joining. Once again, we'll have to ask, has it always been nothing but lies? Before we get started, please make sure you're giving us a like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. It'll help us out with the metrics. And here we go with more facts about the body that aren't quite true.
Warning! The following presentation contains information that might contradict what you have previously heard, or believed to be true, about how the human body works, and contains material that is not suitable for closed-minded individuals. Enjoy!
Fact 1. You only use 10% of your brain. Actually, that idea comes from an idiom about thinking. We use all of our brain all of the time. The area of the brain that's active is going to be dependent upon what we're actually doing, but we will always be using all of our brain. This is what it would look like if we only used 10% of our brain. However, this is what it looks like under normal conditions. Fact 2. Cracking your knuckles leads to arthritis in your fingers. Actually, arthritis is an inflammatory disease that comes from trauma or poor muscle control of the joint over time. Early studies showed a correlation between knuckle cracking and changes in hand functions. However, independent of hand trauma, no effect was seen with knuckle cracking on the development of arthritis. Fact 3. Consuming vitamin C prevents getting the common cold. Actually, that concept comes from unsupported research and opinion voiced by Linus Pauling. At low doses, we may get an assistance from vitamin C, but it's not directly caused by vitamin C. And at high doses, it can cause more harm than benefit. Fact 4. Feces is a waste product. Actually, feces is almost entirely undigested or unabsorbed materials, bacteria and microbiome from the intestines, all of which has never been inside of our body. In order to be a waste product, it needs to be excreted as a metabolic byproduct or metabolic waste. And since feces has never been inside of our body, it cannot be metabolic byproduct or metabolic waste. Fact 5. Being in the rain leads to you getting a cold. Actually, colds are caused by viruses, not being exposed to the weather. While being indoors and outdoors in changes of temperature and relative humidity may lead to increased transmissions, simply being exposed to the rain and cold does not cause you to get a cold. Fact 6. You lose most of your heat from your head. Actually, the idea comes from poorly done studies where soldiers were covered with everything but their head, or where their head was simply exposed to a cold room, and the measurement of heat loss was recorded. The amount of heat that's lost by the body is dependent upon the surface area that's being exposed, as well as the temperature difference between the body and the external environment. Under normal conditions, you may lose at most 10% of your body heat from your head, depending upon how much hair you happen to have. You may feel more cold changes coming on your head and face. However, that's not an indication that you're losing more heat, simply that you're more sensitive to changes of temperature in your face and head. Fact 7. Sitting is the new smoking for our health. Actually, being idle is being idle. Sitting is no less unhealthy than standing. And that's because of the fact of what sitting, standing, or being idle has on our metabolic functions, where changes in activity level lead to changes in inflammation, and changes in inflammation lead to issues with overall health. It doesn't matter what type of sedentary behavior we happen to have. Sedentary behavior and poor diet lead to a lot of non-communicable diseases. However, smoking is far worse than being idle. Fact 8. Fast food is unhealthy food. Actually, fast food is no more or less unhealthy than any other food. The idea of fast food as an unhealthy food is more of a diet cult issue. However, if we look at it based on nutrients and nutrient balance, fast food is just food. It's no more and no less healthy than any of the other foods that we might eat, as long as we are maintaining our nutrient and nutrient balances. Fact 9. Women have lower pain thresholds than men. Actually, the idea stems from cultural norms and stereotypical expectations. Neuroanatomy and neurophysiological differences may lead to differences in expression, but not a difference in pain threshold. Fact 10. Salt in your diet leads to high blood pressure. Actually, the concept comes from some very badly done research with some huge leaps in logic, where we initially indicated having a direct linkage between the amount of sodium chloride, salt in the diet, and the amount of hypertensives within the population, the amount of people with high blood pressure within the population, which led to some worrying about salt and salt issue within our physiology. However, we know that findings relating sodium to hypertension have been called into question for over 50 years now, where we know that if we exclude outliers from the population, there is no indication for excessive amount of sodium causing excessive hypertension. There are a whole host of factors that come into play as relates to what causes hypertension, and sodium may not be the culprit that they talk about. While salt leads to increases in fluid volume, there is little direct evidence to show that salt by itself leads to higher blood pressures. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening if you happen to be on the podcast. Please make sure that you are clicking that subscribe button, clicking that like button. You give us that 5-star rating, help us out with the metrics. Please make sure you're sharing out what we're putting out there with all of your friends and family. Help us out with the metrics. Please follow us on all of the various publications that we happen to be producing on.